first, filed in 2023, seeks damages related to the Russia investigation into the 2016 election. The second, filed the following year, focuses on the classified documents case, accusing the FBI of violating Trump's privacy when it searched his Mar-a-Lago club down in Palm Beach, Florida. According to DOJ policy, only two people would be able to approve such claims: Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and Associate Attorney General Stanley Woodward Jr. Blanche, of course, served as the president's lead criminal defense lawyer, and Woodward represented his co-defendant in the classified documents case. As the Times put it, this is the starkest example yet of potential ethical conflicts created by installing the president's former lawyers atop the Justice Department. Any settlement that Trump were to get would also be paid by U.S. taxpayers. The president responded to this new reporting yesterday during an event he held in the Oval Office.
The Justice Department, are you asking them to pay you compensation for the federal investigations that happened to you? And how much are you asking for?
Well, I guess they probably owe me a lot of money for that. Probably, yeah, that's true. That's very interesting. They probably owe me a lot of money. But if I get money from our country, I'll do something nice with it, like give it to charity or give it to the White House while we restore the White House. And we're doing a great job in the White House. As you know, the ballroom is under construction. Now, with the country, it's interesting because I'm the one that makes the decision, right? And, that decision would have to go across my desk. And it's awfully strange to make a decision where I'm paying myself. In other words, did you ever have one of those cases where you have to decide how much you're paying yourself in damages? But I was damaged very greatly, and any money that I would get, I would give to charity.
Joining us now, MSNBC Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Dilanian and former state attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida, Dave Aronberg. Our thanks to you both for being here. Ken, let's start with you. The Times put it well. I would simply add how outrageous this is. This is the president of the United States. His former lawyers, his legal team anyway, now in positions of power in the Department of Justice, and they'll be the ones deciding whether or not the U.S. government, U.S. taxpayers, pays back President Trump. So as we sort of shake our heads, this feels like almost a perfect encapsulation of the corruption of this term. Walk us through what these next steps would look like.
You're absolutely right, Jonathan. And what it also shows is that the idea that the U.S. government is engaging in independent fact-finding is sort of out the window. It's whatever Donald Trump wants, because the allegations made in these claims have been debunked in the case of the Mar-a-Lago allegations by Judge Eileen Cannon, Donald Trump's appointee, who ruled in favor of him on very substantive things. But she never ruled that the search was improper, the search of Mar-a-Lago, the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago, or that Donald Trump's rights were violated by that search. In fact, she ruled the opposite. But now he's coming to the government and claiming damages. Now, look, I've spoken to the Justice Department about this. They say that they will follow the ethics rules on this. So it's not inconceivable that Todd Blanche and Stanley Woodward would recuse themselves from this decision. But we all know how this Justice Department works, and we can fairly wonder whether that would even matter, because everybody who works for this Justice Department is on notice that they have to do what Donald Trump wants, whether it's in a criminal investigation, a civil matter, or otherwise. And so it is just absolutely extraordinary, beyond the pale. And it's not really about the money, because whether Trump gives it to charity or look, this is a rounding error for the U.S. taxpayer. It's about putting on the record the idea that Donald Trump was damaged by these federal investigations, which have been found by independent fact finders to have been perfectly legitimate, properly predicated, carried out by career FBI agents and prosecutors who followed the facts and the law, whether some made mistakes or not, and upheld by federal judges. To have on the record an idea that those things damaged Donald Trump were somehow illegal would be an insult to reality, frankly.
Yeah, and the ethics guidelines at DOJ are what DOJ says they are, so they can throw them out the window if they want, Dave Aronberg. I mean, this is, again, it's another striking reminder of a Department of Justice, which, let's all recall, less than a month ago, President Trump explicitly directed the Attorney General to, criminally prosecute his political foes, and we've seen them do that for at least a couple of them. And now they're saying, oh, and by the way, pay me my money back.
That's quite a precedent.
Yeah. I guess we're not even pretending to drain the swamp anymore, are we? In a time that we've become numb to all the outrages of the day, this is something I think that so shocks the conscience that maybe it could wake Congress out of its self-induced coma. Maybe. This is about the so-called Russia hoax and the search of Mar-a-Lago, as Ken said. First, both Robert Mueller and Senator Marco Rubio and his intelligence committee at the time found that Russia's meddling in the 2020 election was no hoax, and that there were indeed links with the Trump campaign. And as far as the Mar-a-Lago documents case, well, there was a search warrant signed by a federal magistrate, so all the laws were followed. The case against him ended only because you had Aileen Cannon, a judge appointed by President Trump, who dismissed the case on some unprecedented legal theory, and then when Trump came to power, he ordered his Department of Justice to dismiss it for good. That does not get you paid in any normal world. And none of this was a malicious prosecution unless you believe that the FBI actually planted the documents at Mar-a-Lago, which is ridiculous. And one more thing, most or all of Trump's legal bills and all this stuff were apparently paid by his supporters through a PAC. So sending him a $230 million government check would seem to be an unjust enrichment, to say the least.
Ken, what is startling to me is that Donald Trump is saying out loud what everybody seems to be missing. He said, and we just played the tape, I'm the one that makes the decision here. He said this. He didn't say the Attorney General. He didn't say Blanche or anybody. I'm the one that's going to make the decision. So what could be clearer about a conflict here of interest and something unethical than the president himself said, I'm going to call the shots on whether I get paid or not. Oh, and by the way, I'll give it to charity. I mean, how do you reconcile even the Justice Department defending it when the witness is himself saying, I'm making the decision here?
You can't, Rev. You can't reconcile that. I noticed that as well. That's not what the regulations say, but Donald Trump is, as you said, he's saying the quiet part out loud here. He's in charge. He's deciding how this goes. And I sit here wondering at what point do Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche get embarrassed enough by these kinds of comments to say something or to pack it in. And I don't think we've seen, we don't know where that line is. We haven't reached close to it. Donald Trump keeps saying he's the chief law enforcement officer, essentially communicating to the American public that he is calling the shots at the Justice Department and the FBI, and the people who work for him are okay with that, even though it flies in the face of 50 years of post-Watergate norms in the United States, and it's leading to a lot of bizarre and unfortunate outcomes.
Trump also mused the possibility he might donate that money to the White House ballroom project, and we saw more images yesterday, just the devastation of the East Wing of the White House. There's some new shots that came out from the Treasury Department. We're looking at some of them now that people snap pictures of. I mean, despite his claims that the existing White House structure wouldn't be touched, they're basically tearing down the East Wing in order to build this ballroom that nobody asked for. MSNBC Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delaney. Ken, thank you.